Period. If any other year you would see that there's a lot of traffic on the road, but this time around things are a bit different, and you may also find a number of roadblocks. So now we go to SABC reporter Mahlako Komane, who is at a roadblock on the N12 outside Johannesburg. Mahlako, good evening and welcome to The Full View. I have to say, quite a different view to what we normally expect during this period of the year, right there behind you.
Yes, I mean, good evening to you, Eldrin, and the viewers at home. Quite correctly, it's been rather quite interesting to see the roads this time of the year compared to last year. I mean, we had traveled from Gauteng province and we went to different parts of this province where you would exit the province, for example, into Limpopo, into Mpumalanga, as well as right now we're just on the N12 to Potchefstroom, and I mean, it's really, really empty, especially considering when you look at the N1, it was just empty. I mean, this is the road that at this time of the year, from Thursday evening, up until today, you will see a lot of traffic as well. But it hasn't been the case. But also, we've also been seeing that there are some places you really just can't get to if you're trying to escape or to move away from Gauteng province. We understand earlier on, rather, we were on the N3 to Durban there as well. Just before the hook, there was also, law enforcement there ensuring that people do not cross and try and make their way into Durban or KwaZulu-Natal, as well as when you go into the N1, there were also traffic law enforcement officials. But I think it's also all the major exit routes or the national roads in the province that are being manned 24 hours to ensure that there is no movement of people, that everybody adheres to the regulations of, the lockdown regulations, to ensure that everybody stays home and observes these regulations, so that we can all then get back to life as we know it, or life as perhaps, we don't know if it's going to change the manner in which we know it. But I am joined by Gauteng Traffic Police spokesperson, Mr. Obed Sibas, and he's just going to tell me in terms of what have they been finding on Gauteng roads, especially those trying to move out of the province, or those just trying to, take a chance. I mean, we were here just now and somebody had to be turned around. There was no permit. I think people were just thinking, hey, it's late at night. And I think a lot of people are not aware that some of these roads are being manned 24 hours a day. Mr. Desbasa, thank you so much for talking to us. And I think just perhaps you could just let us know, what have you been finding on the roads? I mean, you were at the Carousel, you were at Umloto, you were on the N3, you're just about everywhere.
Yes, it is true to say this time last year or the past years, it was definitely different. Roads, freeways were congested, traffic volumes were heavy, it was like hectic. However, this year, because of, if you look at our Easter traffic operations, which is in conjunction with the DMA operations, most of our major routes, I'm referring to your N3, border, Gauteng, and KZN, N1 border Gauteng Free State, N1 border Gauteng Limpopo, your N4 Northwest Gauteng, your N12 Emalahleni Gauteng, as well as your R24 Northwest Gauteng. 11 multidisciplinary roadblocks where the approach is zero tolerance. Now, as we move, we picked up that, people, if you check on our roads, all those major routes that I mentioned are quiet, and it helps us a lot as traffic, because we are experiencing lesser challenges, less, if not in the past 48 hours. I don't recall us reporting any fatal crash accident. However, there are those that still misbehave on our roads. We arrested the past 24 hours, drivers who were driving under the influence of alcohol. We arrested drivers who were driving at excessive speed for the circumstance. For example, one was arrested on the N1 in Midrand for driving at 175 kilometers per hour on a 120 zone. We arrested drivers who were driving recklessly and negligently. Furthermore, we continued with our operation. with our manpower capacitated to ensure that our roads in Gauteng are safe and road users, don't encounter challenges with regard to using our roads. Moving from one province to another or moving from South Africa to another country, it is definitely prohibited unless you are permitted to do so. You'll have to have a permit. Travel permit if you're going to attend a funeral. You must be essential service worker. Those are the things required for one to be, moving. Not just any other person moving out of his house, like the people or the driver who was turned back, who didn't have permit to cross over to Northwest. The
Maybe I just interject there, Mr. Spark. I mean, we drove from Ekurhuleni, which is around the Davidson Kapsfontein area, we drove all the way to Brongosplit up until the border on the R25, up until that border where you start seeing that Mpumalanga, Gauteng. I mean, we weren't even stopped by one person. Are we sure that even the back routes we are there? Obviously, all the national roads are not the only way to get to certain provinces. What are you doing in terms of that?
We monitoring all our routes from national. That is where we have mounted our 11 multidisciplinary operations or roadblocks, as well as our secondary routes, where we'll randomly stop and search. No route is free for anybody to drive freely.
Thank you so much, Mr. Obed Sibasa. And as you heard there, Aldrin, Mr. Obed Sibasa just telling us that things are looking much better in terms of fatalities, the accidents, and also just the traffic volumes in terms of commuters or people making their way to their Easter destination. Like this lockdown has obviously brought different challenges, which is trying to keep people at home. But seemingly that ugly, incident, or that ugly tendency of people of speeding, talking about arresting a driver driving 175 kilometers an hour on a 120 kilometer zone. But, it is at the end of the day, it will seem that we will be seeing more and more of this while the lockdown continues.
Well, thank you so much for that. That is Mahlako Komane joining us from the N12, as he just indicated there as well, that as it seems, because there are not as many cars that there usually are on the road during this period, this also means that there are less fatalities on the road. We'll have to wait and see what the Minister of Transport has to say about the number of deaths, if any, on the road that have taken place, particularly because of crashes during this period.